Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Polywine, where we like to take a deep dive into stories pulled from various sources of media and have a fun time while breaking it down. I'm Jillian, and let's get into it. So I have to tell you, I'm catching up a little bit this week, and I'm sorry if I'm a little bit behind. I have had a sickness that has spread through our house and slowly gone through us one by one. So I am trying to catch up, and I was actually getting ready to make a late night recording last night in my efforts to try and slowly step back into it. And right before I hit the button to go live on air, I received a notification that there was an assassination attempt on former President Trump's life at a rally in Pennsylvania. So I stopped everything and I turned on the news because I wanted to see what was happening. And sure enough, oh my gosh, I mean, it was just shocking. Well, it is shocking to see something like that. It takes a moment like, oh my God, I cannot believe what I'm witnessing. But there has been so much warning that has come out with law enforcement, the legal world, to please that there has been a heightened sense of security. We need to step up law presence and authorities everywhere. That there has just been so much going on in hatred, death threats, and things like that to our political figures. And it's really terrifying. It's always been there. The threat has always been present. But there is such a state of hatred and volatility and uncertainness and unpredictability, if you will, with a lot of the people that are involved in politics. People are very emotional over politics right now. And we want everybody to be passionate about politics. You should be passionate about politics because it does affect you and affects everyone around you and affects our society as a whole. And our government, right? But we need to also think about each other. It's not about just us. It's about all of us. We may not have to agree with our neighbor, our friend, our loved one. We don't have to. But we should at least try to hear them and understand why they feel that way. And we are no longer there. You know, we used to have a good conversation with politics. Yeah? You know, dialogue is great. Debate is a beautiful and wonderful thing. To be able to have a nice, sensible argument, a debate about politics, your position, their position, you know, brainstorming, coming together. And that's where we should. We don't have to agree. We don't have to see eye to eye. But in the dialogue, it should come to the fact where I hear you out and I try to understand why you feel the way you do and think the way that you do. And in that dialogue, the other person should do the same. Hear you out. Understand why you feel that way and where you're coming from and why you believe the way that you do and why your thoughts feel that you should follow this out for your belief system, for what you want your politician to do for you, right? That is what a dialogue in politics is. And that's what it has been. And even though it's always been, you know, a saying that you should never talk about money, religion, and politics. You have been able to. You could talk about it. You don't have to agree, but you could have that conversation. Now we can't even have that conversation. And you hear the statement, everybody's so tribal when it comes to politics right now. And it's true. It is true. You know, you could definitely, before in the past, you had bipartisan politicians where they could see in the middle. I hear you, you hear me. I understand. They would take all the information that was given to them from all sides, sit on it, think about it, and make the best decision for all. Well, that doesn't matter anymore, right? Now the ball has moved so far that it's me politics. How can I better my career? How can I do or say whatever I want to get the votes that I need, to get the money that I need, to get the financial backing that I need, everything I need to you know, for the longevity of my career. And it doesn't matter who you back, who you support, what you say, or how you even go against your own beliefs or policies to get what you want to further your career. And that's where we are. And it's just changed in such a way. It's scary. In the last four to 6 to 8 years, we have seen things in our government and politics that I didn't think I'd ever seen my entire life. And it's just tanking and going downhill. And I have to say, when I have a lot of international friends, and to hear their opinions of us from the international stage, it's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. I really am. So we need to stop, think about what we're doing, and try and course correct. This is embarrassing. We are the United States of America, and we are better and smarter than this, aren't we? We can do better. Like your mom always told you, when you know better, you do better. And from this moment, as of yesterday, what happened to former President Trump, we now know better. Let's do better. We can't keep doing this because there is a lot more riding up on the line in the next few months moving up to the election. We have some more debates. We have the conventions. It's going to become a lot more toxic if we don't stop now. And it's always exciting getting those last few months into the election. It's exciting. It's exciting. You know, you've got Super Tuesday coming up and you've got the race in October. Fantastic. Well, now it's just there's just something different in the air, and it's very unsettling, and it makes me nervous. And something as much as I've always loved is civics and politics, this is different. This is different. And it's hard to love it when it's just an air of crazy. Right now, so much of our policies just seem so nonsensical, and it's scary. It's very scary. So, but moving from this story, let's put our thoughts and prayers to the innocent bystander who was killed. The other 2 victims that were also shot are in the hospital. So let's send our thoughts and prayers to them as well. And let's be kind to each other, everyone, please. So moving on to some other stories. There's been a lot that has been going on in the last, I'd say, 36 hours. So after the whole thing with Trump, let's move on to a couple passings in the entertainment world. So yesterday, there's been a couple great losses, and including today. Yesterday, we lost the late and great Richard Simmons, the fitness guru, an icon, a legend, the man that brought the fun back to the gym, but the fun back in the fanny, and, sweating it to the oldies. He was great. Who doesn't love a man who can rock out full sequence in a gym? I do. And he just made it fun. And he really cared about everyone, Richard Simmons. And it showed. It showed. And we cared about you all the way to the end, Richard. We loved you. You will always be with us. R.I.P. Richard. And I'll be sweating to the oldies with you forever. And we lost another great legend, Dr. Ruth, the sex therapist. She was an icon in her craft. She really was. I remember watching her shows, listening to her talk show, her radio show. She was fantastic. A woman way ahead of her time. She was just so fantastic. I miss her. We'll miss you. And she definitely changed certain types of therapy forever, and she'll be missed. Another loss that was just announced just recently, actually, in the last several hours, Shannen Doherty of 90210. She has lost her battle to cancer. She has been battling breast cancer, since 2015, she announced that she had cancer. So it has been a very long struggle for her, and she gave it a valiant fight, but unfortunately she did lose her battle. So our thoughts are with you, Shannen, and your family. Very sad news. So a lot of great loss in the entertainment world as of yesterday and today. We will miss you all. Now, moving along to some other stuff in the entertainment world, let's get into some TV and some of the streaming world. So I have to say, I was watching Netflix the other day, and there is a documentary called The Man with 1,000 Kids, 1,000 Babies, 1,000 Kids. I think, yeah, The Man with 1,000 Kids, who is a Dutch man, a Dutch YouTuber who was donating to sperm banks all over the place. And it's interesting, gross, interesting. But I guess he's what's called a super donor. And what this super donor does is that in Holland, in the Netherlands, that they have, there's rules that you are not allowed to donate sperm too many times to a particular sperm bank because they don't want over distribution, if you will, of that particular sperm and put that gene pool out there and then just over spread it, if you will. So this guy was not only donating to sperm banks, and again, in that country, there is a max limit. You can only do so many, and then that's it, because they don't want an overpopulation, if you will. You giving your sperm to too many people and then putting your gene pool out in that population and a mass amount, and then there potentially being a chance that one of your offsprings could meet and there be an inbred child from that. And that's always the fear. So that's why there's a max limit. They try to make sure that it's in a controlled environment, it's a controlled setting, so that would not happen. So I think there's a max that one person could potentially have. I think they said about 25 kids, and that's it. Right? Because they don't want a whole bunch of the same genes in a small town and then those kids meeting and then reproducing. And that would be the worst case scenario, right? So that's why these rules are in place. Well, this guy completely bypassed the rules, right? He found the loophole. So he would go from one sperm bank to another sperm bank and use different names and different aliases. He was going online, also doing private donations where he was just, putting his product into jars and handing them to women, like in parking lots, mall bathrooms, you name it. The stories were really kind of quite gross. And then actually doing it the person to person old fashioned way. So they think that potentially, and not only was he just doing it in the Netherlands, he was then going to other countries and doing it and maxing out their sperm bank numbers and just spreading his seed throughout the world. So he was called a super donor. And there are known to be several of these men in that super donor world. And ironically, there was one guy there, and it was the guy from 90 Day Fiance, Love in Paradise, the guy Kyle from Malta, and who was with Anika. And I told you he was weird, but I guess she met him on one of those sperm donor donuts. I mean, come on, Anika. Super nasty. But I could not believe it. He was one of these super donors. And of course, he was in the documentary, just very briefly, and mostly at the end. He was mostly just about his texts and the things that he was talking about, because I guess there was they called it the new Mecca, which there's a new huge availability in Africa. I think it was Kenya in general, that are trying to find European donors and they're trying to attract them over to this country for sperm donation. And they were doing it there, and they were talking about how it's this new opportunity, it's the new land. And sure enough, there was that guy from 90 Day Fiance, Love in Paradise, Kyle. So so anyway, but going back to the original story, so this guy, the Dutch guy, they think the title of the documentary is called A Man with 1,000 Kids. At the end, they said it could be anywhere up to like 3,000 to 6,000 children, because they don't know. It's just completely unmarked, which is crazy, because sometimes this could happen where one of his children could meet another child that's one of his children as well, and have an attraction to one another. And there was actually a therapist that was talking about it, because some of these kids do get together once a year and try and meet. And they were saying that there's a condition called the Luke and Laura condition. And it's where children that are siblings who were not raised together, when they finally do meet, there's some similarities that they notice that they have. That's, of course, it's biological and genetic. And that interest attracts them. And sometimes that attraction just by interest of curiosity, they can mistake that as love. So that can then turn into, a relationship, which that relationship therefore can then have a child of it. And that could have a lot of serious consequences. So yeah, that was fascinating. But then to see it come full back to circle to that gross guy that I've talked about for a couple weeks in Love in Paradise and from 90 Day Fiance, I was like, this is just so gross. This guy, how did this guy, not only could I be grossed enough by this story, then he pops back into it. So it's just a full circle, nasty, nasty kind of moment. That's for sure. But enough about him. He shouldn't really get too much of my attention there. He's gone, and so is that show. So let's move on to some other gossipy stuff. This past weekend, we had the Housewives of Dubai, right? It's going on to Bravo. We had the Housewives of Dubai. The riff is happening there. We have Caroline Brooks is still pissed at Carolyn Stanberry. And that fight's going to continue. The Ion, poor Sergio. Ion's still she's sticking up for Caroline for now, but you can see from the previews ahead for the middle of the season that rift is going to start breaking up. Lisa is still doing her shady stuff. Sarah, this whole model guy, he's gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. He's gorgeous, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about your approach with you introducing him to your son yet. Because your son's really into him already. Like, he's getting attached, and it seems pretty clear to me that I don't think that guy's going to be around too long. So I think he's trying to, get into a situation like Sergio has. Like, Sergio's living the good life over there. So I don't know. This guy's younger. He's not used to having, I don't know. I don't know, Sarah. He's good looking. He's a great distraction, but I don't think he's going to be the father figure to your kid. And, I'm just going to say, maybe you should listen to your mom when you said, I've met this guy. And she's like, oh, no, not 3. Maybe you should listen to your mom. It sounds like you haven't had the best luck in your past with your exes. So maybe take some advice from your mother, your other family members, and your friends, and definitely your son. Your son's trying to tell you. He said the second husband was a nightmare, and you even admitted in your interview that he didn't even give any attention to your son. So I don't know why you would marry him anyway, but you did, and that didn't last. So, maybe 3's a charm, but right now it doesn't look like this guy's the number 3. So keep on looking. But he is a great distraction. He is gorgeous. His abs, his eyes. Yes, he is. That is a beautiful man there for sure. So moving over to another Bravo show, we had Below Deck Mediterranean. Okay, let's do it. So Ellie and Bree are still fighting over Joe, right? Joe's got a great accent. Joe's got beautiful eyes, great eyebrows, good head of hair. He's ripped. He's good. Yeah, I think you both can do better, but he's fun. And of course, he's loving the attention for sure. But Ellie, I have said from the get-go, there's something off that bothers me about you. In the last couple episodes, it's starting to really present itself, right? Like it took you, you were 45 minutes late for the costume party, which, come on. I know you take that stuff serious, but this is not a serious situation, right? You were just doing it something fast and easy for the guest, but you were working. So the fact that you took about 45 minutes to an hour to get ready during your shift is not okay. is not okay. And poor Bree's trying to hang in there, but you know she's doing a little bit of poking behind Ellie's back. So that fight's going to continue on. They're still fighting over Joe, but now it's a tit for tat game, right? Ellie's pissed. Bree's now pissed at Ellie, and Bree can see that it's affecting Ellie. And so she's going to take advantage of every moment of that. So it's going to be interesting. Again, Joe's enjoying it. Gail and the other cutie pie, I'm over it. I'm sick of the strawberries. The whole relationship with Gail and her boyfriend, that doesn't seem like a healthy relationship to me. But I guess you're just going to have to ride that one out, just like they always do. But I think she's going to slip up here soon. She's either going to dump the boyfriend on the other boat and get in with that cute little Irish guy, or is he Irish? I think he's Irish. Very adorable. Yeah, but I think she's going to give him a try. That's for sure. And she should. She really should. And Ian, I think you're probably going to get fired. Jono, you're having a bit of a better day. Or this past charter, you were much better. Captain Sandy, I think you still need to have that backup chef come on board. I think you're going to need it. I think you're going to have to pull that ripcord here really soon. It's not going well. Not going well at all. But I'm enjoying the season so far. And Trishelle was on it from the Traitors this past week. And she was adorable. I liked her. Now, we must get into the season premiere of The Real Housewives of Orange County. It was a good 90-minute premiere. It was good. It was good. Shannon, so let's just get into it. Shannon, there was a lot about Shannon this episode. A lot about everybody, but a lot about Shannon. And on a side note, Emily, you look great. You look fantastic. I've always thought you were beautiful. I think you're probably one of the prettiest housewives. I would say, I think naturally pretty on, I'd say pretty much most of the franchises. My opinion, I think she's just beautiful. And she doesn't have that too much work done look. You know, she doesn't look like she's been overly worked or filled or snipped. She's beautiful, and she'll be the first one to admit, I've had liposuction, I've done this, but it's not noticeable. Like it doesn't look like she's had too much work done, right? And I'm not going to call it any names, but we know on other seasons, a lot of the housewives will come back from a season, and when they start the new season, they look completely different. They have a new face, a new body, new hair, new extensions, new everything. So new teeth, definitely new veneers. That always comes up. But this was good, I think. But anyway, Emily, I think you're pretty. You look great. You can tell you've been working out. That's a big part of her story. But anyway, so the season starts off as from going into last year's reunion. And they were talking about Shannon having a drinking problem and this and that. And then boom, 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 boom. It goes right into where Shannon had the DUI, the hit and run, and all the local news and national news and everything that's been in the paper. And then you see all the other women talking about Shannon's accident and everything. And then you pans over to Shannon talking to her daughter, sitting down with them and apologizing for what she did and her actions. And she's embarrassed. And then she starts going into, I was in a really dark time, you know, and I was in a very unhealthy relationship. And no one really knows what goes on behind closed doors, but it was very clear that Shannon and John Jansen had a very unhealthy relationship. I don't know what goes on, but I didn't really like the way John treated her. I definitely didn't like the way that David treated Shannon. But Shannon definitely, I think Shannon, to me, in my opinion, seems like she needs to be handled with kitten gloves. And she does. So she needs somebody who's a little bit more softer than any of those guys. I think she likes a little bit of the macho guy, but it doesn't really work out well for her. But no matter what, at the end of the day, good thing she's gone. She's done with John. He's gone, and she's moved on because maybe she can move on. She needs somebody better. That's for sure. She definitely wants somebody. She loves love. She always talks about that. But that was not a healthy relationship. And good thing that's over. And she says to her daughters, I'm glad that relationship's over. Looking back now in hindsight 2020, I realize how truly toxic that was of a relationship. And it's even though it took me a really hard thing to kind of a cold slap of reality after that DUI to recognize how far I have fallen, but I recognize it. And now I am going to make the changes and move on. And that's great. That's absolutely great. But then you're going to have, this entire cast is going to be coming for her. And we knew it was coming, and it is. And Tamra, you are really, really mean. You are really mean. And Tamra, I love you. You're great for the show. But Jesus, Tamra, you are so mean to this woman. And Tamra, I love you on the show. You're great for the show. But she's been with you for a long time. Vicky, I hope you come and stand up for Shannon. I hope you do. All these women, the Tres Amigas, they've all fought. Vicky, Shannon have fought. Shannon and Tamra have fought. Shannon and Vicky have fought. Tamra and Shannon have fought. It goes all through. They've all fought. They have all fought, but they've all come back together. And Shannon really needs somebody right now. She's a mess. She is a hot mess, and she needs her girls. And the fact that Tamra's like, fuck it, I'm over it, I'm done. You made a mistake. Well, we all have mistakes. And for somebody to just be like, I saw her in this room and I saw her drinking and I knew at that moment I was done. You're just going to kick her while she's down? If she truly has a condition, you're just going to cut her off like that? I think this says a lot about you, Tamra. It really does. And I understand you're frustrated, you're pissed, and you're probably exhausted at this shit. But she's still your friend and she's a human. And you should have a little bit of empathy for her. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like it. Just be like, Shannon, I understand you're going through a hard time. Do you need an ear? Do you need a shoulder? Because what I'm seeing, it's not you and it's not healthy you. And we're worried about you. I think that's all it takes. You just one moment. It's amazing what happens when you check on someone and just say, how are you? It takes so much less to smile at someone, acknowledge them, and say hi, and letting them know that they are recognized and seen in the world than it does for you to be mean to someone. It takes so much more energy to be mean to someone than just that. So why? Why do you do it? And then you walk around, I'm tired. I'm tired of the world being mean to you. Well, maybe you need to reflect at yourself, Tamra. But moving on from that. Then you've got and then we have Gina. Gina is doing her real estate and she's trying to move Travis out of the house. Although she says she's still in love with Travis. When she met Travis, she was newly divorced. And now that she's divorced and things are getting better in her relationship, he's still dealing a lot with his ex. So even though I think she said they're divorced, or they're not divorced. They're not divorced, but because his ex is making it extremely difficult for that to happen. And she said she's just, it's been so long that Gina said she's been dealing with Travis and Travis's ex, that it's just affecting their relationship. And she just needs a little bit of space from that. As soon as she moved out with her husband, she moved right in with him and his kids. So, it's a lot. So she's just saying, I need a little space to figure out if this is really the best thing for us. And to make sure that we can, face these challenges later on in life and be okay. I guess that's her attempt, but it looks like they might break up a little bit, because she's kind of pushing them out. So that's her thing. And of course, her real estate. Then we move over to Jen. Jen and her fiance. Oh God, that guy. Jen. Jen, you seem really sweet, but Jen, you seem like a hot mess. So Jen has, she was married and has 5 kids. She was married to an attorney, has 5 kids, and her her, I guess, estranged husband, soon to be ex-husband, I guess, the guy she's having a divorce from, I guess his name is Will. He was an attorney for her family business. And once their split happened, he no longer works for her family. And she runs the yoga studio. And she was saying, I only get $50 a class. And I don't know how many classes she teaches a day. But I mean, Orange County is expensive. And she has 5 kids. And now she's moving with that guy named Ryan. Well, I get now they're proposed, or he proposed, so now they're engaged. So Ryan. So now she's got to move in with Ryan, or potentially that he's now offering for her to move in because I guess she had a nice rental and she no longer can pay the rent. I guess the arrangement was, and she was trying to explain in her interview, that her husband, or soon to be ex-husband, was paying a certain amount of rent. And she was going to cover the other half. Well, she received a letter from the landlord that she was only receiving partial payment for him. So she wasn't receiving all their rent. So, after several months of that, the landlord is, sent to evict her. So Jen's being evicted. She has 5 kids. She has 5 kids and she's being evicted. This is just awful. I mean, Jesus. And so now she's like, I don't have a place to live. I guess now Gina got involved because she called Gina and said, can you help me? I have to be out in a week because I'm being evicted. Now Gina, being a real estate agent, a realtor, she had helped Jen get that place and put her on as a source, or as a reference, excuse me. So Gina was saying, no, that makes me look bad because I put her down as a reference. I vouched for her. And now she's falling short on rent and she's being evicted. So that makes me look bad, right? And I can understand what Gina's saying. Can be embarrassing. But let's get back to the woman who has 5 kids and doesn't have a place to stay. And now she's stuck with Ryan. And it comes out later in the season. We've seen previews for it, that there's something going on with Ryan. There's been little breadcrumbs dropped about some legal issues that come down about money, a couple $1 million that ended up in his account. We don't know why. But there's some shady stuff going on with Ryan. But poor Jen. Jen left her ex-husband, or they're still married, but soon to be ex, that was a father of her kids, for this guy. Right? And she even said, it was listening to her story last season, she was like, I was in my 40s. And even though I had a great husband, we've been together a long time and our relationship just wasn't there anymore. And I was just a mom and, I felt like we were roommates and it just wasn't the same and I wasn't happy. And I stepped out of our marriage because somebody was giving me attention and I needed it and I wanted it. And I made a choice and I acted on it and I ended up with this guy. I wouldn't say that was the best choice, but somebody gave her attention. She was in mom mode for a long time. She had a ton of kids. It happens. Somebody gave her attention and told her he was pretty and, she was probably the love of her life and she fell for it. And it was this dude. She's so gross. So Jen, I feel so bad for her. You uprooted your whole family for a guy that made you feel good, but it's this guy. Ugh. And now you're being evicted. You got to move with this guy. Now we hear that there's stories coming up down the end of the season that he's got legal issues. Oh, poor Jen. Oh, poor Jen. And your poor ex is the attorney's like, I told you so. And look what you did. And now you got this guy. And now you've got the legal fans. And now you have no place to stay. Jen, what were you thinking? So, and let's not forget, we have a new cast member. Katie. There was a new cast member. Her name was Katie. I'm sorry, I had to lean over to the computer there. I couldn't think of her name. She was adorable. She is friends with Gina, and evidently she's friends with Sutton Stracke, and I love me some Sutton Stracke. So she should be interesting. Her first introduction, her first show was definitely the thing. It was Heather Dubrow's party. She got to meet everybody, and at the first introduction for Miss Katie, guess who shows up and who we have been waiting for? Good old Alexis Bellino, Jesus Jugs herself from the back in the early days. Yes, she's back, and she is dating Joe Jansen, Shannon's ex. You know, the one that told her she was a drunken idiot, and so she left his place, got in her car, and did a hit and run that night. That's the same John Jansen. Her ex is now Alexis's Bellino's boyfriend. So, yuck. So, scene on. They walk into Heather Duro's party, right? And, you know, a little bit, everybody's kind of, you know, doing their friendly pleasantries. How are you? You look lovely, all that stuff. And then, you know, Shannon walks in. She immediately goes to everybody. Look, I haven't seen anybody in a while. I've kind of been, you know, hiding, because what happened to me. And she tells Katie, I had a DUI, and it was the most humiliating thing I've ever done. And I'm really embarrassed. And I've been just trying to work on myself and, you know, fix it, make things better, you know, just trying to take accountability for my actions, my stupid actions. And I'm moving forward. And she went up to Gina and apologized for all the stuff that she said to Gina, and with Gina's DUI and all that. And Gina was like shocked. Wow, I can't believe she said that to me. You know, that's Gina's kind of New Yorker accent. I'm trying. We'll see how that goes. And so that was nice. So she recognized that. But Gina, you know, you're going to be kind of an asshole this season. I can see it happening. But you can just see new Katie taking all of it in, right? So then Shannon walks up to Alexis Bellino and she's like, can we talk? And Alexis at the tarot card station was like, sure, that's fine. Let's go talk. So they go outside, and which was so funny because Shannon tells Gina, I think I'm going to talk to Alexis right before she goes over there. And she's like, okay, just do it. Go outside and do it, but do it in good lighting. I thought that was really, really funny and nice advice. So as soon as she goes outside with Alexis, and to have that conversation, she was like, it's too bright out here. I'm going to go in the shade, which is all the way down the patio. So you see like Shannon and Alexis like dragging, well, it's technically Shannon started off, but Alexis helps her at the end and starts dragging this like metal cocktail table down like this concrete patio, like screeching the whole time. And eventually production kind of helps her out. But you see all the women inside, everybody there. You know, Heather was the host of the party. You have all the other women there. They're like plastered to this large window right in front of this patio, trying to see what's going down between Shannon and Alexis. And they're trying, and of course, Shannon and Alexis are moving down further and further from the patio out of the sight of everybody because they're trying to get to the shade, right? And you just see the whole crew just kind of plastered to this window. And it was really funny because they're trying to see and they couldn't really see much. But it didn't go long. But it didn't end well. You know, so Shannon was just pretty much saying, Alexis, this is really difficult for me because it's really hard for me to be around you because let's not forget, several years ago, I was on some, I don't know if she's on a show or it was a podcast or whatever, but her and Tamara had made a comment about Alexis's ex-husband, Jim Bellino's business. And they were sued for defamation. And evidently it cost Tamara about $500,000 and it cost Shannon about $300,000 in legal fees. And Shannon went up to Alexis and she's like, it's really hard for me to be around you because you were the cause of that lawsuit. And I was just recently divorced. I was a single mom of 3 kids and you went after me with full vengeance. And you were the one that sent the cease and desist letter. And Alexis was like, nope, I don't know what you're talking about. It wasn't me. That was my ex. And we were already separated when he did that. So I didn't have anything to do with it. That's not me. And Shannon was like, it was from you. Your name was on it. And Alexis was like, well, you know what? I don't really think that's why you're mad at me. I think you're mad at me is because I'm dating your ex. You're the old and I'm the new. And I know that must be really difficult for you. And she said in a really condescending way, I know that must be hard for you. And of course it is. But Shannon was like, no, right now, this is about the money. If you want John Jansen, you take John Jansen. I don't think he was healthy for me, and I'm glad he's out of my life. This is the fact that you really messed my life up for quite some time and cost me a lot of money that I'm still trying to recover from. And she's like, nope. That's not what it's about. And that's not what you're from. That has nothing to do with me and whatever. And so she wouldn't listen. And Shannon was just like, that's great. Fantastic. And that's kind of where that ended. So it was a great season premiere. Fantastic season premiere. I hope there is a little bit more about Heather this season. I didn't really skim over Heather much because there wasn't much to talk about. What, Heather Dubrow has more house, more real estate? Great. It's fantastic what she does. How the woman can flip property and make a ton of money on it. It's great. But if that's all you have, Heather, and your condescending remarks and your big eye expressions, I need something more. Sometimes I do like Heather. She can bring something quirky and cute, but I've never been a Heather fan. I've never been a Heather fan at all. I don't like her elitism. I think she's very snotty. I think she looks down on people. My personal opinion, maybe I have it wrong. Maybe she's lovely in real life, but that's what I'm getting from her. So I find her very bothersome. And I would say that's the Bravo wrap up. So I'm excited to watch this week. Hopefully New Jersey will be back. They took last week off for the 4th of July week. So I'm excited that they will be returning. I want to see where it happens there between Danielle and Jen, Teresa, where all that's going down, the Maj. And I need a Dolores fix. Who doesn't need a Dolores fix? Everybody needs a little Dolores in her life. So I'm excited about that. But did anybody watch last week's episode of Presumed Innocent on Apple? So good. It was the court case this past week. Jake Gyllenhaal, I freaking love you in this series. You are so good. So good. And I'm really enjoying Jake Gyllenhaal this season and this series. I've always liked him. Sure, he's always been a good actor, but there's something I think he's definitely expanded his versatility in acting. Maybe I don't know. I'm intrigued. But there was a comment in this last week's episode that really stuck with me, and I'm just going to keep coming back to the wife. I don't know the story, don't know the book, I don't know the way it ends. I've told you I want to. But I refrained because I want to watch this series in its entirety. And I'm going to see after it ends, then I might go back and watch the original movie or read the book. I don't know, or listen to it on Audible. And I want to see if this ending's the same as the original or if it's different, and where they maybe have taken a little bit of artistic liberty between this series and the original. I'm intrigued to find out. But anyway, there was a very interesting sentence or question that Jake Gyllenhaal asked his wife, Barbara, in this past episode. And he said, why do you stay? Why do you stay? And I thought that was a very powerful question. So Barbara, why do you stay? This man's cheated on you, had a long affair behind you, was kind of obsessed with the mistress. There's no question, he was obsessed with the mistress. Got her pregnant. And you stay. Now she's murdered. It's everywhere. You're humiliated. Everybody's knows that that's your husband who is on trial. Why do you stay? Why do you stay? You had the opportunity to hook up with the bartender. You did not. You just kissed. That whole bartender scene is weird. I'm still going to say it's weird. Just do something or don't. I don't need to see it. I don't need to see the whole foreplay of it all. I just don't. It was boring. No, thank you. Didn't need it. So do something or leave that story behind. But why do you stay? That stuck with me because, and it just, I want to say, it keeps coming back to her in my head. Although they put a really good timeline that a lot of question, a lot of doubt in the mind that he could have done it. And maybe he did. But there's just something triggering me about the wife. She knew about the affair. She stayed. The one time, why you just need to stop loving her. Remember when she found out that after everything kind of happened and he was being indicted for her murder, the husband, Barbara, I said Deborah, she said to Jake Gyllenhaal, you just have to stop loving her. You don't need to forget about her, but you need to stop loving her. Who the hell says that? No woman. So there's just so many things that the wife keeps doing that makes me feel like there's something more to the wife. She knows something. I don't know what it is, but I think she knows something. So I think there's something about the wife. It bothers me. I'm not saying Jake Gyllenhaal is innocent. And there's something super sketchy about Tommy, the other attorney. They're very sketcy. And why they had to throw out the whole cats thing? Why has he got to be lonely with cats? Why is it? Wait, I love cats. Why does it mean lonely? But it's such a good series. I am just absolutely loving it. There's only a couple episodes left. And I just don't want it to end right away because I am thoroughly enjoying it. And Jake Gyllenhaal, big fan. Another show that's been quite popular and it just had their finale was The Mole. Really. That was a good show. I know a couple people in my family have really enjoyed watching that. They just had the finale. Spoiler alert, I'm going to announce it, that the winner, Michael O'Brien, he won it all. He took it out. It was good. Some of the challenges were really good. It was fun to watch. I loved how they turned on everybody really fast. The game or the quiz that they had to take to eliminate people, that was kind of fun. But that was a good game show to watch. And so Michael was the winner. Good for you, Michael, and congratulations. So I wanted to kind of bring everything to a close today with a good, fun, happy story. We have some other news of the weird, some other odd stories that we'll get into, but I'm going to have to get into that later in the week. I spent a little time on the whole Trump stuff early in the segment, so I wanted just to kind of end things up on a happy note. So I don't know if you are a Simpsons fan, but in an episode in 1996, there was a concert called Homerpalooza, and Cypress Hill, being stoned, accidentally booked their performance with the London Symphony Orchestra, right? And they did their song Insane in the Membrane. This was in 1996. Well, they just announced that they are actually, Cypress Hill, the real Cypress Hill, will be performing with the London Symphony Orchestra, some of their original hits. They will be going on and will be performing with them this summer. So I think that's fantastic. I don't know if I'll be able to see the show, but I will definitely be downloading or YouTubing that performance with Cypress Hill and the London Symphony Orchestra. And I hope they still call it Homerpalooza, as they should. I think that is one of the coolest things that could have happened. I love Cypress Hill. I do enjoy the London Symphony Orchestra. I love all orchestra, but they're amazing. So I think that's going to be awesome. And I hope it brings a lot of money in, because you got to support the arts. It's great. And The Simpsons, if you do not keep evolving, I don't know what does. You are a gift that keeps on giving, and I love you forever. I am a fan. So thank you everyone for joining us on Polywine today. It has been so great catching up with you. Please join us on Instagram on Polywine Time, and check us on any streaming platform you can. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye.